Dzinokwaziswa mhandu dzasatani nezita raJesu. Ngatidzorei hope tisati tapinda mukati memagwaro. Mwari vari kumusoro tinokutendai nekupa mukana wakadai kuti mutisanganise. Hazvigone kuti tizarure magwaro tisina assurance yeministry yaMweya Mutsvene mukati memwoyo yedu. Ini ndabvuma kuti apinde mumwoyo anditungamirire. Ndaikumbirawo kuti vari kuteerera vabvumire kuti Mweya Mutsvene apinde mukati mavo aite basa rake, agotipa simba rekuti tirarame zvatichadzidza nhasi. Izvi tinozisiya muzita raJesu Kristu akatifira paCalvary. Sangano ngariti amen. Nokutendai zvikuru nokundikoka kwamaita kuti titaure panyaya ye-empowerment, nyaya ye-financial literacy. You can give it topic that you want, but inoda kuti nditaure Bible-based financial literacy. Bible-based financial literacy. Is going to cover the aspects amandukoka kuti ndite cover them. Nyaya ye-financial literacy haidzidziswe formally in the curricula in the schools. Unokwanisa kusangana nayo apo nepapo. Yet it's a very important subject yatinorarama nayo mazuva ese. Saka toda kuti timbopinda mukati memagwaro tipiwe hwaro hwefoundation hwebiblical financial literacy. Regai nditi wazhinji vari kubudirira munyaya dzefinances. They follow these principles unknowingly, yet the source of those principles is the Bible. Ndikuziva. Saka roti kudi? Saka tichapinda mumagwaro tozoaplya zviri mumagwaro. Handisi kubuda mumagwaro. So be comfortable. This is a biblical presentation. Right. I've studied the Bible with the bias towards financial literacy, and I've extracted now at least 18 principles from the Bible on self-reliance, on empowerment, on financial literacy. So this presentation is going to cover just a few of them, but they are enough to set us thinking and to begin a conversation. So this presentation is concerned with mindset change. With mindset change. Empowerment kana isina mindset change hapana kwainoenda. People must know kuti chi chaonotarisirwa kuti vaite. Therefore, I don't know of any other avenue to help change the minds of people other than the Bible. So the first point I want to cover, inyaya ye-tithe. Handisi kufamba pafambwa namfundisi, my esteemed pastor. I'm not talking about the angle yekudzorera per se. That one has been covered. But we want to add value and say to you, it's only 4 weeks ago that I discovered this thing. It was in my face, but I couldn't see it. I said, wow. The teacher, your financial literacy is the tithing concept. You can do your master's, your PhD, the terminal degrees. But I'm simply telling you, yes, principle, the foundation here, biblical literacy, yaka gara pa principle of tithing. Saka ndibvumire kuti ndiene kuna Leviticus 27 verse 30. Then I'll skip verse 31 and go to verse 32 and explain why tithing is the foundation or the teacher on financial literacy. I'm reading from the New King James Version. Leviticus 27 verse 30, it says, And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. Verse 32. And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, of whatsoever passes under the road, the 10th one shall be holy to the Lord. Inini hangu I'm a teacher by spiritual gift, so ndino zvokuparidza izvo hazvisi zvangu, tiita zvekujuma-juma. So I've got my object lessons, but ndine ma-objects angu andada kuti tiburitse the principle. All right. So I'm going to go back to verse 30 and deal with step by step analytically. Saka verse 30 Leviticus ari kuti all the tithe of the land, whether it be the seed. Here is the seed. I've already done my calculations. There are about, on average, 40 grains in one line. And there are 19 of these lines. So approximately, I've got 760 grains on this cob of maize. I only put one seed into the ground. One. And then it obeyed the law of multiplication that God put in it at creation. So the seed multiplied itself 760 times. Unfortunately, I didn't bring the cob of maize. I forgot because I was in a bit of a rush. I did maize, and it's much bigger than this cob. So when I weighed it, it was weighing between average 340 to 350 grams. That's quite huge. I'm also analytical. I've got a mathematical background as well as a financial background. So I think in mathematical terms. So don't worry when I get nitty-gritty, but it's just basic mathematics. Basic mathematics. So I calculated using the skill that God has given me in terms of the things that I do. Okay? I only need 4 cobs that I produced. It will give me about 1.4 kilograms. And if I use that as seed, I can produce 1 ton of maize from 1.4 kilograms of maize. From 1.4 kilograms. So when God says all the tithe of the land, whether it be of seed or the fruit of the tree is holy, it belongs to God. We normally see it from one perspective, yet there is the other side of it. So let me park for a moment and go to the next point. Whether it be of the fruit, there is the fruit. I took it from there. Where we're eating. There's a lesson here on financial literacy. So this is representing the fruit that I'm illustrating as an object lesson. If I take this one, and assuming I don't want to use a grafted tree, so if I use seed, it's going to grow much slower. But if you plant one seed, and you get your fruit tree, you know what's going to happen. You are going to have several apples, but they are coming from one seed. That's the origin, one seed. Yeah. It can even extend to an orchard, but all that being traced to one seed. It can also trace to a plantation, but coming from one seed. All the tithe of the land, whether it be seed or of the fruit, is holy unto the Lord. Now we skip and go to verse 32. Which says all the tithe of the head or of the flock also belongs to God. Now, here is what is interesting. When I read my Bible, the law, be fruitful and multiply, was directly given to animals after the flood. I think except for fish. Yeah, I read about this one. I know God implied it, but specifically to mention it was after the flood. When Noah was preparing, is a be, so that he talks of be fruitful and multiply to the animals. So here's the point. So God says to goats and cows and chickens, I want you to behave like fruits. Be fruitful, not be seedful. Be fruitful and multiply. Behave like fruits so that you multiply. So here is the point I want to bring out on financial literacy based on the tithing principle. All the things that I read in the Bible, at least in the Old Testament, that were tithe, they were based on things that multiply. You're not getting what I'm saying. Hakuna tithe yekwa Israel in the Old Testament yaibva zvisinga multiply. Hakuna. I normally ask those that I present to, but you quote this one quickly, most of you. But I know some are still dragging. So let me illustrate it to bring a contrast so that you see what I'm talking about. So I normally ask and say, all right, can I have a volunteer who is formally employed, who is getting a paycheck or a bank transfer, whatever? But the point is you're employed, you're getting a salary. So the volunteer said, I don't want to know how much you're earning, but we want to illustrate a point here. Now, January 2021, you know what you were earning in terms of a basic salary. Now, come January 2022, has your salary doubled? No, I'm not asking you, I'm asking, I don't know, sorry, has it doubled? Some they say to, then I said, let's make it easier. Let's make it easier. Let's use the RTGS or the bond. Has it doubled in bond or RTGS? No. Most of them say no. Even in the bond, it has not doubled. Then I say, are you aware that if you don't get promoted, you can work for 40 years and your basic salary by the time you retire will not have doubled? So the crisis of financial illiteracy is that we are tithing from things that are not multiplying. So some of the unfaithfulness, my Pastor Mvuti. Yes. Pastor Mvuti, I want to see your reaction. I want to see your reaction. I'm writing your point. Oh, thank you very much. So some of the unfaithfulness, it is because people, their obligations are coming from something that is multiplying. In some instances, the salary is multiplying in reverse because it's not catching up with inflation. So here is the basic lesson on financial literacy that comes from tithe. Ensure that your primary source of income is coming from things that multiply. Pastor Gwizo is here. So I'm going to also, I've tied Pastor Mvuti into my prison so that these things are one. Pastor Gwizo mentioned the third point about Abraham. Job 1 verse 3 lists his assets. And his assets, we take them from Leviticus 27 verse 30. So this powerful man of God, who is a prophet, with a beautiful and a wife of integrity, also had things that multiplied. Yeah. A prophet. Now I'm going to go to a familiar text. which is Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 to 10. But I want us to land on verse 10. I want to recite it, lest I... So we'll take off from verse 8. But pray for me so that I don't spend too much time on verse 8 and 9. Pastor Chris, are you praying for me? I am. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. The 6 days of production must have things that multiply. I'll show you where it is. Verse 10, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle. The other version says, nor your livestock, or nor your livestock. So it implicates that one who is resting on Sabbath has things that are multiplying during the 6 days. I'm going to return to this point, but let me say something about these things. Right. The things that God gave the law, be fruitful and multiply, that follow that law, I call them top quality assets. That's a term original to me. Top quality assets. Oh, by the way, an asset is something that brings money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Livestock, maybe, I think, let me share this as well. You know, the French and the English angle, some time back, there was a word called chattel. Later, the English, they called it cattle. Okay? Then the Romans called it capitale.
All right. Come on. All right.
You know what I'm saying? So capitale's root is cattle, livestock. So when you talk of capital markets, you are talking of cattle markets. What's my point? My point is, even those who are not Seventh-day Adventists, who don't know the Bible, the basis of their success financial is based on the Sabbath commandment. Us given the heritage, we don't see it, and we envy those who have run away with our concept. Top quality asset. I'll tell you what top quality asset does. Yeah, Pastor Mvuti, you are the one that I'm used to from Bulawayo. So I'm going to ask you my it's not an awkward question. Pastor Mvuti, if you passed by my place, by the farm, on Sabbath, I don't know what you'll be doing. And then you hear the workers saying, Chulu's cattle gave birth on Sabbath. Okay. Are you going to report me to my church elder, to a church, to say, Chulu is breaking the Sabbath because his goats and cattle, they gave birth on Sabbath? You won't. So top quality assets, that are biblical, that are the basis of tithing. Are you with me, friends? Yeah. Asi iwe kana une business remuchovha nemabhazi tikariona richitravhela tinokubvunza kuti uri kuendesa vanhu kukempi here? We are tactical. Tokusencha kana bhazi rikasevenza nesabata. But mombe dzangu dzinozvara nesabata. Whilst I am resting, my cattle, they don't stop producing. I'm now in Israel. Am I being heretic? Nditori pano izvozvizvi, muri kundinzwa here? Ndiri pano izvozvizvi. My tomatoes are not stopping from flowering and fruiting whilst I am here. And on Sabbath, whilst I am preaching, divine service, they will be ripening on Sabbath and flowering on Sabbath and fruiting on Sabbath. And as the Sanchez says also, while you were sleeping last night, was there anything that was producing on your behalf while you were sleeping at night? So these top quality assets, they produce even whilst you are sleeping. No one's UK. So here is the power of the Sabbath commandment from the angle of financial literacy. I'm adding one more point now. Yeah. We need doctors. We need pastors. We need nurses. We need bankers and tellers and teachers. So I'm not going to be encouraging you to say your members should leave their professions or their vocations. I'm not the one who's going to say that. So who is going to attend to my needs? But here is the concept that you find in the Sabbath if you understand it in its depth. It says, if I am a pilot who is flying over Heathrow or over Dubai, I must have things that are multiplying for me whilst I am in the air. If I am a teacher, whilst I'm marking the books, the books can store in class. So in that regard, my vocation or my profession is no longer just a profession. It is elevated, it is upgraded. It is now ministry. Why is it ministry? Because I don't depend on the salary that is not multiplying. So what I do, I'm not going to complain and say, hey, what, the economy is what, things are not what. I don't have time for that. I have time for ministry. So you won't find me striking and spending my time on WhatsApp discussing political issues. Because there's multiplication. So if I don't get my things on time, I have no problem. I take from things that are multiplying and move. Saka dambudziko ratinaro nevanhu vanochema inyaya yekuti zvavanazo hazvimultiply. Ndosaka vachistrika vanhu vachifa. Vamwe vachitoda kuti ubhadhare thousands of dollars for an operation. But if I'm a medical doctor And I've got things that are multiplying. I see someone, ministry now. I see a victim by the wayside on the road to Jericho. I don't pass by. I don't pass by. I say, God, you have given me a divine service here, now. I am preaching it practically. Nothing is going to stop me because I'm not depending on that income that's coming. So I give service without any problem to anyone. So the Sabbath commandment understood in its fullness. Release us from the bondage.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And give us the financial freedom that Pastor Guizo, Dr. Guizo is talking about. So some of your church members, when they hear these things, they give me excuses. They say, we hear you, but I work for Laban.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Laban is a cruel master. I have no time to do these things that multiply. Some will say, fine, I have the money, but I don't have time. I don't have the money. I don't have the money to start these things. So here is the answer. Here is the answer now. To answer those questions from the Bible, we go to Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. We answer from Scripture. Proverbs 24, verse 27. I don't know what versions you have there. Someone with this New Living Translation, good news if you have it. Let's read from there. Or whichever you have. So let me use the one that I have here, which is the New King James Version. Proverbs 24, verse 27 says, prepare your outside work. Make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house. It's there in the Bible. So let me just unpack here. What is the field? What is the field? I'll just give one verse, but there are many verses to prove it. If you go to Genesis chapter 31, verse 4, the Bible says, and Jacob called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock. So in the field, there is flock which represents the things that multiply, that are tithable. The field represents where you have got your assets, your 12 quality assets, which are listed in Leviticus 27, verse 30 and verse 32. So Solomon, one interpretation that we're getting from the perspective of financial literacy, he's saying, start by acquiring top quality assets before you acquire a house. A house, in general, represents liabilities. Unless if your property is giving some form of income, maybe rentals, lodges. But most houses for most people are liabilities. And people are so enamored, they are so in love with their liabilities. I'm going to systematically dissect your house from the gate. A cross-section of your house from the gate. When I pass through your yard, I might see 1 or 2 cars parked in your yard. You see, A liability is not inherently evil. It's a necessity. We need houses, we need bread. Let me say something to you. Your house and the bread are in the same class. Rekanitaura ndichona. Imba nechingwa hazvina kusiyana. Both are consumed. Chiraba hachina kunzwika ichi. Chingwa hachina kuipa. Bread is not evil. We have to live by it. But learn to classify things correctly when you are now biblically financial literate. Hanzi munhu ane tunhu twake tupi twacho. It's either tunhu twacho ma-assets kana kuti ma-liability. Satombogara pamota manje. Mota ine mavhiri 4, most of them. Dzine mavhiri 4. Coping the livestock that must rest on Sabbath. I want us to go on an imaginary journey from Harare to Bulawayo. Haifambe nemvura. I can't mention the brands here because this thing is being flighted. But you know garages and the garages and their various names. So you choose the one where your cow, yeah, did I say cow? No. I said it. Where your car goes to a fuel queue to the pump. Yes, a cow. But that's not your cow because you are not the one who's milking. The owner of the garage is one who is milking. Saka iwewe une book remota iri liability but it is somebody else's asset. And then you have got the wisdom kutoisa CCTV kuchengeta mombe dzawari kuti dzisabiwe kuti dzikamiwe zvakanaka. Saka ikakamiwa kuHarare manje. Inzwa izvi. Handiri kuenda kuBulawayo kodu, koBulawayo kotutuzi yatunga. Ikakamiwa muHarare, yokamiwa zvayo muHarare. Isati yatombo uchingoti panotoni paya. Magedhe anovharwa kuti haipfuuri kana isina kukamiwa. Mandiwa, chirahwe ichi, seproverb. Kana yakamiwa magedhe ovronzi itaikama ngaipfuure. Kadoma vanovhara futi magedhe kuti ngaikamiwe zvakare futi. Usati wapinda komugweru wokamiwa futi. Uchibuda mugweru padhabuka paya wokamiwa futi. 20 kilometers from Bulawayo wokamiwa futi. Ukaita mistake yezvinezvi kana if you have not been Bulawayo for some time. Ukandopaka pasingapakiwi. Muna munizwa noti inokamiwa futi. Now let me say something that might be controversial. I'm not a theologian. Ndinongotora ngozvandatora. Ndakareka muna Exodus kuti when the children of Israel were being numbered, census, they were supposed to give an offering. When you are numbered, you must offer. Vekunyika ndobva wakopa concept of numbering. I'm not going to Saka mota yako ine number. So that there is record yekuti yakamiwa kuti haina kukamiwa. Paunogara pane house number, you didn't determine the house number, wakaipiwa, so that the council has a record kuti yakamiwa here for my rates. As one Abraham, they didn't get numbers, they numbered. So, are you a number taker or a number giver? Ukapiwa number, hii number kukamiwa. Or tiri pamota. I'm doing a cross section of your house. I'm just building on that kuti so tanga waita ma top quality assets usati wakwaya imba. Usati wapinda pamba. Most houses dzine hoa hwesimbi pamusoro. Amuna kwachirahwe. Hoa hwesimbi. Wakasvika ukasimiwa neumwe munhu asipo ipapaya. Vamwe mwedzi uchipera vanouya vachizoita harvest mushroom. Your house liability. Topinda kamba macho. Kuvhura fridge so. Hakuna mafridge ari kutengeswa. Your fridge tunhu twako asi liability. Urukamiwa. Ukangoti vhurei tape chete uchida kugeza mazino yatoripota pamita kuti panapa uyu munhu ngakamiwo. Saka maiwa yemba iyi. Saka Bible wrote, be financially literate. Don't start by acquiring a house, a liability before you acquire assets. So financial literacy is not easy. If there is a liability, it must be matched by an asset that's financing the liability. So you are spending. That's liability, but which asset is funding? Don't tell me you are funding from an asset that is not multiplying. It's not an asset if it's not multiplying. Maybe it's a low quality asset. 40 years, no multiplication. But within 4 months, I've multiplied this 735 times. You were 40 years. Salary yako urumira kuti multiply. Ichinda kupi? Excuse me now. You're standing where I want to shoot now. I've asked you to go, elder uniform ya imari. Manza elder yenu ya garisa ka A6 Galaxy muri kumasure suru. Makadzinga ma galaxies muri pasi kuno gugu. Manza elder maybe mungachitengesa neka $80. Ngati $80. Ngati oh $80. That's fine. Ko yako myuthi yaona indi imari. And you give me permission to shoot. Ina undri nani ndine kamuke $80 akakaka. Saka imbudzi mbiridzi. Naundiwa. Ndakabata 2 goats ndine mbudzi I've got my 2 goats up. I've got 2 goats. Saka iwewe look at the value of your phone, resale value and divide by 40 and find how many goats that are in the pocket that you're busy phoning with. So, zonzi isusu hatina mari, asi munhu akatobata mbudzi mbiri ipapo. Some of them I hear there's this latest phone, but I won't talk about the brand. It's $2,400 vanadzo. Vamakatumira from diaspora idzodzo. Munhu aritofamba ake mupocket ane mbudzi 60 dzanadzo. Tinoshaya, hatidzoreri. Iwe unokodzorera sei wakabata mbudzi 60 nefoni yaunayo 60 mbudzi. And mbudzi dzinomultiply manje. Every 6 months kana wakomborerwa. Maiwa nyaya yacho. Saka it means kana if you hold your phone here, $2,500, hold it for 1 year. You are potentially holding 60 plus 180. And you. Plus the parents. So, in a year, yokufona, uchikamiwa, you've lost potentially 240 multiples of goats. Quite right. So I'm being... asati atanga. Hanzi ndashanda mwanangu chimbona kigwawo avo vakuenda kupizza. Saka ndoda kuti mutore receipt yepizza yenyu 1 chete kwete 2 1 wozoenda to your popular hardware store woti ndipewo chinhu chiri equivalent receipt iyi value yepizza yandatenga iyi. They won't crack their heads, they'll give you at least 1 bag of cement. Saka hauna kudya flour, wadya bag resimende. Vamwe vatori nedzimba dzakasvika paroof level asi dzakaperera mudumbu. Yes, ana mai elder must look beautiful. Ndakutaura sambuya pano amandiwa. You see, Mwari ane tendency yokutaura sambuya in the Bible. Zvikanzi kuna Isaiah, whom shall I send and who will go? Zvino mbuya vakasara nevazukuru kumba manje. Zvikanzi ndiani angandinwisa mvura? Vanoti pane anonzi angandinwisa mvura here, anonzi angandinwisa mvura ndiani pano. Wobva varamba vachitamba havo bhora nepada nenhodo. Chinzi atimiziva anonzi ndiani anonwisa mvura. Panodzoka mai Chulu manje. Zvikanzi kweiwe vana vako vakadzidzisa sei? Ndaswera pano ndine nyota. Kanzi kwemi vana mbuya sei musina kupa mvura? Kanzi mbuya vati ndiani wandikapa mvura? Muna kundinzwa. Saka Isaiah paya aitobvunza kuti whom shall I send? Kunge ari consulta Isaiah kuti ndiani wandikasenda, but Mwari aitotaura kuti Isaiah uripo here. Maiwa. Saka ndati mai elder vanofanirwa kuti vaite seiko. Is the pastor was saying, ndindotaura mufundisi kuti ndozviri. So mai elder vanofanirwa kugara vakatsvinda. Probably handizvozvo. Asi mai elder zve. Hairstyle yamunayo mumusoro. Zvaingatenga barbed wire yefence. Mbudzi dzinoita madiro kumunda kumusha, asi mai vakasinga barbed wire mumusoro. Ndimai elder anotaura nezvavavo. Aiwa, asi mai pastor, mai elder. Saka inini mudzimai wangu ndiman'uve mudzimai wangu. Saka tomboita zvemadunhurirwa hedu. Anombovhura wardrobe yake so, oivhura wardrobe yake so. Ndoona hangu the women's organizations dzekuchurch that she belongs to. Pane madress green emutoo yakasiyana siyana, amakaplitwa, amakaita sei, nemahandbag acho, nengwani dzacho, kana green yacho, wozoenda kupurple manje in its various colors. Ndoti mudzimai wangu, I like this. You must look beautiful. Unofanira kuzvipfekedza. Asi mudzimai wanga, ngativerenge kuti une mbudzi ngani dziri pahenga. I'm not going to chirawe. So to my wife, how many goats are you hanging in the wardrobe? I'm not going to chirawe. Ndoti mdzimai wangu, usapfeke mbudzi. Koma. Pfekedzwa nembudzi. Tisapfeke mbudzi, ngatipfekedzwa nembudzi. That's the principle. Acquire the assets that generate the income for you to acquire the liabilities. Then we are okay. Yeah. Time is ticking, but I have enough time. I move on to the aspect now. Andina time. That's what the was kutazvinzwa andina time. Ende andina mari yacho. Ye mari tapedza nayo. Mari dziripo. Asi dzakamedzwa nemba. Vuni sinde an all-night prayer in the members' houses, where you go and pray for them that the houses dziburitse the field that was swallowed by the house. Dzimba dzakamedza munda. Saka ngadzirutse munda dzimba. Through mindset change. So elder, ndakukunzwai. In multiplication ndiri kuinzwa but inini ndinoshanda. Handina nguva yacho. Mwari ngaatendwe because munhu wese ane paakafitwa naMwari with the circumstances. No excuse. I'm getting more practical now. I want to start with fruit trees as a simple example. And it's mentioned in the tithing verse, fruit. Kwamtare kwenyu kuku. A grafted tree, you can get it for $3. Not even the complicated one, the simple one. Your orange, your lime, you can get it for $3. You can go faster from pizza for 1 day. What one of my grafted trees matatu. But you don't do it kana 400 miti. Pana kambono muti wakatodzvarwa musiwo ndobvaita wabereka. So God put a principle in nature that helps you who doesn't have money to start. It's the seed principle. So I call it the drip kit investment strategy. Drip kit investment strategy. Kumunda uku kana tiri kudiridza nedrip ka inenge chingoti do asi ukaenda after an hour or two inenge yasakadza munda 30 to 40 centimeters chitanda chinonyura nedo do. So it's simple. You can say, Mwari, ndaiwa nyaya iyi. Mitika, you choose your drip rate. Zimwe dzinodrip at 2 hours, 2 liters per hour. Zimwe 1.5 liters per hour, zimwe 1 liter per hour. So according to your circumstances, you pray, so what's my drip rate of my trees? I'm not going to hear you. So I said, God, this is the commitment I'm making. I want to drip 3 trees per month. I'm not going to hear you. Saka pachipera gore manje ndane 36 miti. Panozopera 5 years, that's 36 times 5. Nditiro mezi zacho. 36 times 5 ichi. Sit 180. So panopera 5 years watoa ne 183 at a drip rate of 3 trees per month. That costs you 1 pizza per month. Saka If your member comes another COVID 36, I'm not going to do whatever COVID 36, zonzi basa akuchina. Mukati dzinga kubasa, and no problem because ndine 180 fruit trees. Saka, COVID or no COVID, my income streams, they don't change. Because I'm true to the Sabbath commandment that says 6 days when I labor, I must have things that multiply. So I drip at 3 trees per month. When I retire, by the way, there is no word for retirement in the Bible. He is a good in this one. He can correct me. In Hebrew, at least what I've heard others present, akuna word not retirement. You only retire. I'm not why. Not retire. You retire. You put on new tires. Guess what? Your basis for retirement planning is determined by your activity during the 6 days of labor before Sabbath. So when I plant my trees during the 6 days, I'm also preparing for any eventuality in terms of finances. I'm a medical doctor, a powerful one, a surgeon, but in the no income stream for me. But when I already have my orchard with 600 trees, I have no problem. It will continue. So this is the beauty of the tithing principle that says, first invest in things that multiply, primarily those that are mentioned in terms of tithing. So here, I'm just giving you an example. My fruit trees, hafudziwe. I'm not kidding. So they will never a possibility because as miti ya pastor ngi ya kazondojika ku church member. Elder ndaiwa yenyu but my fruit trees this one I can apero and snow and apinda apero painting. There are these little things that fly. Matozi ziva. They are called bees. Bees are so wonderful. Mumukoko wanu yoyo. You have about 30,000 workers. 30,000 workers. They are not on payroll. The NASA guys are not come and harass you to same not register you NASA. Zimra, I wish it to go taxi, my returns, it takes any ever shandy 30,000. I've up 30,000 workers for free. Mambo so no. Number 2, that's your name boots in a moment, so that could doziwa. You just did doziwi. I'm not doing Vamwano chengeta mombe nembudzi, hey supplement feed stock. Nyuchi azitengerwe feed. Azitengerwe feed. Zinogadzira feed yadzo. Number 4, kana pakaita hondo amene ndeipicha uya, ma fuel prices okwira, idzo are not affected by price increases because they manufacture their own fuel. No fuel shortage. Mbudzi zikaenda pa next door, msindo. Asinyuchi are welcome in your neighbor's field. Akawandisa some advantages chinhu man. Chako kungoti mai mfundisi chete. Not my mfundisi, I'm sorry. my elder wombo downgrade hairstyle chete woitaka $35 totovapa mukoko wenyuchi. Elder, hatina lendi. Kupi? Kumusha kwenyu kune lendi iriko, kune miti yakasikwa naMwari. Kunoturika koko chetoko. Uchitorova zunde uri kupi? Uri kuGC, uri kuGC. Dzinenge dzichitoita basa nyuchi kuGC. And hadzina supervisor. I'm not ndinzwa. And they don't call in sick. Hadzina sick leave. They don't call in sick. So they can faithfully work for you whilst you are in ministry. Saka those are not comfortable vegetarians. Takupai nyuchi, takupai nema fruit trees. So God has something for all of us. So ndakava nyaya yekuti hatina mari, hatina time. Takavai. So if your church member is a pilot, tell them that whilst you are flying, even in you also that are flying and landing on your airport kumbakwako. Then, if I don't talk about this bit, the last point. Tisa manya from here to notenga mkoko from here. Amandiwa ndazoka futi. Pane inonzi the law of school fees.
Okay.
This year I'm like so dasam. You can see when God had the project of building the sanctuary. His Holy Spirit yakato sikira pana ole haleb na Bezalel. Wisdom, understanding, and skill. Sanctuary ainakuwa kwa neon wasina skill and knowledge. My project happened where without knowledge and understanding unonyura. The law of school fees says, if you get into a project, whatever it is, with little knowledge, with no skill or little skill, and no experience, you are assured of being paid with heavy losses. Those heavy losses, I call them school fees. Wadakwita PhD, iwe usiripa ECD level. Saka, you paid Harvard fees when you're supposed to pay ECD fees. So the losses you're incurring, no matter how painful they are, positively, you have paid school fees in order for you to learn. So here's the principle. When you get into a project that you don't know, you need to determine how much fees you want to pay.
Okay.
So you start with a school fees project. So the school fees project is designed not for profit, but for you to learn. Dr. Raymond teka mkokoka. Zinopera 20 years zokupinda nyuchi. Chulu, dzakaturikwa. How is it dzakaturikwa say there is skill and knowledge and a bit of science on how dzinoturikwa say. Monoita mbudzi dzinofa dzese. So what is happening with this empowerment projects? People talk about this and they get inspired, but when they get into the field, those things are not multiplying, they're not multiplying, they're dying. It is because kwapindwa wanu. What's that one? This is what the law of school fees. The second way to deal with school fees is to look for a mentor. Now, a mentor, according to my books, is someone who has paid school fees in the past. Who is going to assist you to reduce your school fees. Kuti mukaona anogona zvekabichi, mumvunza nezvematomatisi, anobhadhara school fees kwenyu kokoko. Saka, kana muchida zvenyuchi, endai kumunhu who paid school fees panyuchi. musainde akabhadala school fees kuma-fruit trees. These are simple principles, but people skip them because of excitement. The third one, look for a manager who is trained. Well, I could go to town with this one on Abraham, but I don't have time now for this one because my time is almost up. Look for a manager. But the problem with a manager in our circumstances is that you are not busy kwa urukuku. They are busy turning your asset into their asset. Big man. Ane price so. Saka aka start kwamanje workers. Kuti anongosvika just 5 minutes chete. Mota inenge chete duru achisvika paprice. Osvika osiya chikafu kuti makadi chiita kudzokera. Akasvika ndo zvanoita. Saka akati apa paita opportunity apa. Saka aiunza fertilizer manje. Vakomana vakati idzi hadzipinde munda idzi. Saka vakazvati ari kuuya manje vanotora fertilizer vobva vangomwa ipapo pamaziso ake ipapapapa. So dzikasvika so dzoti vakomana muri kushanda, I see the field is white with fertilizer. But beyond his eyes there is nothing. Vakomana vatora fertilizer vakatengesa because of management. Genesis 2 verse 5 says, pasati power nemvura. Then says also before there was men to till the ground. Hello? So God in his plan says, right, it's just a Garden of Eden for production. But my plan for the garden must involve a manager. So God says, if the garden is going to be there, it is because I've already assigned a gardener. So the manager to look after the garden. So the garden comes before Adam. But Mwari akanga akatokrafta kudhara plan yekuti Adam panozouya manje akupinda mutraining yemugarden, a manager. So the law of management I derive from there. It says the rate of absence from your garden is proportional to the rate of disappearance of your garden. Project unoita, my pastor. There are projects that need your attention a lot. So I've given you projects that don't need much of your attention. The balance is. So ndukuti kana usina time, don't get into the projects where we don't have time, because they want to go back to the state of non-existence because there's the manager. That's how it is. No manager, no existence of the garden. So pane projects ativangoti tipinde because of our circumstances. But pane atakapiwa that we can do with the time that we have. I think with these ones, Chabalansis, Chulu, I'm not talking about the stock market. Stock market comes from livestock. Stock market, livestock. So how the stock market works is exactly how cows work. Chulu, what are you saying? But if you are investing, not gambling or trading, on average, you expect that your stock market cow will give birth to another cow after 8 to 10 years. Mandiu. Asimombe dzako dzinosara every month, no, every year. So all I'm trying to show you that it might appear as too mundane kuti ziri kunzi dzorerai chegumi chezvizvizvizvi nezvizvizvizvi nemombe. Yet there is depth there. Hakuna multiples anokunda iye awawo akaiswa tithing principle. Hakuna. Your house, if you say ndakuwa elder, turn my house into an asset, ndikurendesa, maybe your house is worth 60,000, ukurendesa 250, it will take you 20 to 25 years for you to get enough money usingaidye usingatithe futi kuti itenge imwe imba. So your house is a cow that gives birth after 25 years. Kwadi kungopinda kokuzvizvi zvokuti 3 years tagrafta tatopinda munyaya. 5 months nyuchi dzako, every 4 months you are harvesting 35 kgs. So my appeal to you is to say, Mwari, what are the things that are within my reach because of the work that you've given me? help me to choose my drip rate. So how many beehives am I going to be dripping per month? How many fruit trees am I going to be dripping per month? Chulu, zakuti unorarama. Nditaure izvozvo kumusha kwedu kulowa gwelo. I come from lowa gwelo. Yeah. Pano vanotochera makomba so the rate is vari kuchera makomba 5 for fruit trees per day. Hamuna kundiwa. 5 makomba. Oh, by the way, we're using the Ellen White method. Do you know that Ellen White was given a vision of how to prepare land for trees? Aha, that's what we are using, the Ellen White method. So, vari kuchera makomba 5. So, I'm dripping at a rate of 5 per day. That's my drip rate. Kumusha kwedu. Saka choose your drip rate. No wonder God says because of a chitema, akatipa example of the tree of life. Why? Trees tend to outlast us as humans and animals. So how can your retirement package not be based on it? Nyuchi dzenyu idzodzo nemafruit trees no retirement package yenyu. As I sit, I'm going to give you one thing. Don't allow your number of years from birth to be more than either the number of beehives you have, or the number of trees you have, or the number of goats or cows that you have. May God richly bless you as we talk about these things. So I've written a book here. It's called Titus COVID-19 Journey. It packs the principles that we're discussing and others that I didn't cover. This one. It's in a story form. I borrowed from Jesus' method of telling stories. So this book is a book that chronicles the journey of a man called Titus who worked for an NGO. But during COVID-19, the NGO had to be closed because donors had diverted funds towards COVID, but his NGO was not in the COVID field. So he was told, this is your last paycheck. Next month, you're not coming. And they were never good in these mid-tier schools. So next month, he has no paycheck. So this story chronicles his travails, his trials, and how he begins to pick up the pieces when he comes across biblical financial literacy. So I've weaved 18 Bible-based laws into the story. But I don't mention the laws in the story that are mentioned at the back. So if you want it, we talk. So this one belongs to Pastor Katusha. He bought it 2 weeks ago. So I brought it for him. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring the books because the publisher could not meet on time. But if you want the book, I think you can organize with Pastor Machamire, or if you can collect the money, I can make sure they'll land here by Monday. May God richly bless you.